Today on Conversations with Neighbours, we're sitting down with Dr. Sabrina Crossley from Align Health Center. Dr. Crossley has spent more than 15 years helping families in our community feel better, move better, and live healthier lives. She specializes in pediatric and prenatal chiropractic care and is a certified Webster practitioner. We will get to that because I have no idea what that means. She's also a mom of 3, a big believer that wellness should be an approachable and fun. And apparently, she's also a knitting influencer. And we'll get into that. Dr. Sabrina, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's kind of start at the beginning of the chiropractic journey.
Sure.
How did that journey begin? How did you get into it?
So when I was in university, I was on the path to become a medical doctor. And probably in about my 3rd year, I started volunteering with a chiropractor just to help boost resume, see what other types of therapy there was out there. And I realized while working with the chiropractor how much time he had to spend with patients. And it was very proactive care as opposed to reactive care. And so at that time, I had also been on my own weight loss journey. I don't like to talk about weight loss anymore because I don't think that's, healthy kind of way to approach healthy living. But at that time I was on Weight Watchers and I just saw how you could use food and activity modifications in your daily life to impact health and wellness greatly. So seeing what the chiropractor was doing with his patients and just that they were so thankful to be there and it wasn't rushed and you could spend time with them and make big impacts in their life, I changed my career path. And so I started volunteering with him more. And then eventually I applied to chiropractic college. At the same time, I also applied to be a midwife as well. And so I got into both schools and I had to really sit with myself and think, could I be woken up at 3 a.m. to go deliver a baby? And no, I couldn't. So I decided to become a chiropractor who specialized in prenatal and pediatric care.
Yeah. It's so funny too, how just that little exposure of something of that world can just have such a drastic change, right? Like you're going in there to kind of explore, pack the resume, right?
Yes.
But then the exposure of the impact that is had and then alters essentially what the career is for, the next.
Absolutely.
I always find that fascinating. It's a common story that when I have conversations like this of just these little moments that have this big impact.
Because I would always, all of my life, I went to the chiropractor. My parents would take me. And it's funny, that didn't kind of push me into that path. It pushed me maybe to volunteer because I was uncomfortable in that world. But it was just, seeing the time that he had with his patients that really pushed me kind of to that direction.
And then also recognizing, okay, I'm going to go down this path, but kind of this family and children element to it, kind of being in the midwife kind of world too. So knowing that you want this to be as well a big part of the practice that you built. Yeah.
There's nothing funner than on my Saturday mornings treating families and you get, the parents in with their 2 or 3 kids and it's just kid after kid on a Saturday morning and it goes by so fast and it's really fun. I don't have to ever be serious in my job, which I love. It's all fun and games when you're treating kids and babies and
Love that. And how about then getting connected with Dr. Marcy and Align? How did that come about?
Well, so after I graduated chiropractic college, my husband's family, they live in King City and my family's in Collingwood. So we were just deciding where we wanted to be close to because ultimately we were going to be having kids and we needed family close by. So we decided to live in the King City area and I started to research clinics around the area that had the values that aligned with mine. No pun intended. So I was researching the clinics and then I sent them, this is back in the day, so I sent them a pre-postaged postcard that just said, are you looking at hiring an associate? Are you looking at selling your practice? Are you looking for a partner? So I probably heard back from about a dozen clinics, interviewed at probably half a dozen of them that I liked. And I was very drawn to Align because it had everything that I would want in a clinic. And, the person who interviewed me, that she just was amazing and lovely. And I knew that place is where I wanted to be. So
yeah. When was that?
I graduated in 2011. So probably the summer going into that year. Yeah. I started looking. So it was a kind of a nice way to approach it opposed to looking for job ads. I just found the places that I liked and sent them as I said, a postcard. So,
honestly,
yeah.
even today in 2026, postcard might be more effective now, right? Like it's throwing the curveball.
It was pre-posted, so they just had to click a box and put contact information, and then I contacted them back. So, yeah.
Okay, so for someone that's never been to a chiropractor, right? Like what actually happens at an appointment?
Yes. So we're chiropractors. They can be slightly different. The way I practice, though, is I come from a very evidence-based background with the school I went to. So patients will come in for an initial visit. Typically, it's around an hour. Sometimes it can be a little more or a little less, depending on what the patient has going on. During that, you do history, a very focused history on the complaint, if they may have a complaint, or just health and wellness. You do a lot of health history, back checking. So we'll go through a thorough health history, any, red flags that might come up. And then from there, we move on to the exam. And then from the exam, as long as everything's good, we'll treat that day. Sometimes patients might have something in there where we might need to get x-rays. We might need to, have some more advanced imaging before we can proceed to treatment. But the majority of the time, the patient would be having an appointment that day or that treatment that day. And depending on what they come in with, the treatments can look very different. Sometimes we can do just adjusting and muscle work, or they can have other modalities as well to help heal, take away pain. And then based on, the state of the patient, we'll set up a treatment plan that's realistic. So do they need to come more frequently to get rid of a complaint, or are they in just for health and wellness? And then we set up a treatment plan that's, aimed towards that.
Yeah. And obviously everybody's going to be different, right, coming in. But are there any common things that you see when someone comes to see you for the first time, like, some common problems that they're looking to solve?
So with my general kind of population of patients, the family, you're seeing a lot of low back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, neck pain. Those are very, very common. We treat them very well. It's our bread and butter. And then I'll have referrals. I treat a lot of infants, so you'll get referrals from lactation consultants, or you'll get referrals from midwives, some OBs that they're coming in for specific problems like torticollis where they can't turn one way, acid reflux, constipation, that sort of thing. But then I have patients who are referred to me because they've heard from another person that, I'm amazing. And they just want to come in for a regular visit.
Yeah. What are some common misconceptions of chiropractic care?
Oh, that once you start coming, you have to keep coming for the rest of your life. The dentists have that same philosophy, and we've all bought into it, something about tooth decay. But no, I'm just kidding. With chiropractic care, I think practices are built with both types of patients. So I have patients who come in just when they're in pain. We might see them for a handful of visits. We get them out of pain. And then I know that I will see them the next time they've heard something. Where then I have other patients who they want to live optimally. They want to feel better. They don't want to be back in that same state that they were, when they first came to see me. So they're the ones that might come in for a massage and a chiropractic treatment once a month. And typically, I'm not that good at my job where I can say you'll never be in pain, but they're typically not coming back in, crawling in, desperate because we've kind of done some maintenance and maintained things. But both I'm comfortable with, and I would never force a patient to be here, when they don't want to be, or if it doesn't align with what they feel like they want to do. Yeah.
What is something that kind of happens when your spine is out of alignment? I feel like because it's so connected to absolutely everything, right? The whole nervous system. And, some people might not understand the true connection of what happens to your body when you're out of alignment, right?
So typically, because often patients can be doing repetitive things over and over again, and they might not have pain. And then they come into me, they're like, I was just bent over brushing my teeth, and all of a sudden I'm in excruciating pain. And it's not the brushing the teeth that cause pain. It's the repetitive, poor posture, lifting things in an improper way, that sort of thing that you've been doing for a couple of weeks prior, that all of a sudden your body's hit its threshold, and it's like, enough's enough. Myles, go get it checked out. It's time. So that's typically what I find. Sometimes patients will actually have an injury where that's the direct correlation between it. But also I can use kids as a big example. I had one patient, she, fell in gym, hit her head. She was fine for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden she started having headaches. So that's when her mom brought her in. And when assessing her, she had such major restrictions in the upper neck from hitting her head, and it didn't manifest pain at first. Kids are really good at not having pain. And so when they do have pain, that's a bit of a warning sign. It's like, well, obviously there's something that's been going on that hasn't been taken care of. So it can be as simple as you get daily headaches and you don't realize that maybe it's your neck being restricted, the muscles being tight. So
yeah, when you say that, I'm like, kids are rubber.
yeah, they totally are.
So it is totally a big red flag when it's like something
they shouldn't be getting pain.
Yeah.
Kids shouldn't be having headaches.
Yeah.
And you know what, headaches too, I co-manage a lot with our naturopath with kids with headaches because 9 times out of 10, it's mostly coming from their gut. It's some things they're either intolerant to it or constipated, and it manifests as headaches. So yeah, there's a lot of that's why we do a thorough health history to check in, like, you know, a patient will tell me, oh, this is how I heard it, or I don't know how I heard it. And so I start asking, well, what were you doing a week, 2 weeks? Did you get a new chair, a new bed, any new sports activities, that sort of thing, to really find out what is actually the cause. I'd love to follow patients around daily, but it's kind of a bit of a taboo to start stalking people. But
that's also why I love Align Health Center so much, is like, it's such a holistic 360 approach to health, right? It's not just like this one thing and we only do this one thing, right? When you have all the different kind of experiences under one roof, you can really be able to look at it from 30,000 feet above, 360, and get to the roots.
We co-manage a lot of patients. Not only is it better care because, you know, my forte is not rehab exercises. I have my set that I do with patients, but more complicated stuff, I'm referring to the physio. So they get more thorough care, but also I find that it helps spread patients' money and benefits out better because, you know, if I have more frequent treatments because of condition, they're going to exhaust some of their benefits, where if I co-manage it with our physio, they're going to spread it out a bit better and be less out of pocket. So it's a bit of, we approach it for a couple of reasons.
Yeah. This isn't for the parents or soon to be. You specialize in prenatal chiropractic care. Yes. What does that mean?
It starts off, you know, at conception. So I'll have patients that, you know, have been patients of mine for a while. They're growing up, they're deciding to have kids. And then we start prenatal care, which just means like we're treating while you're pregnant. Postnatal, we're treating after pregnancy. And then sometimes I have patients that get referred specifically because they're having low back pain caused by pregnancy or, you know, round ligament pain or pelvic pain. But what it usually entails is there's a lot of research that shows that regular chiropractic care throughout pregnancy can actually decrease labor times, labor pain, and complications of labor. So complications of labor means like position of the baby. So that's where Webster technique comes in. Webster technique helps release intrauterine constraints in order to allow the baby to turn. Because if the baby's upside down, or if the baby's right side up, we want them to be upside down. So often when I'm using Webster technique, I'm assessing the pelvis and then the ligaments that support the uterus in the body, and we're releasing them so they're loose because that gives them more space for that uterus to lie in the pelvis and allows the baby more space to turn. I don't turn breech babies. I like to say that, but I help aid in the positioning so the baby can turn. But that's what the basis of Webster is. So I'll get a lot of referrals for that from midwives or OBs.
You know, as you're saying that, like, makes perfect sense. Like, the body's about to change so much.
So much.
Like,
you have a hormone. You have a hormone in your body that starts very early in pregnancy, and it's called relaxin. And that's the exact job. It relaxes. So it relaxes all the ligaments, which allows your pelvis to open when you deliver a baby. However, it doesn't just choose to be in the pelvis. It relaxes the ligaments all around the body. So that's why you end up with a lot of back pain, a lot of joint pain, because things are lax. But also the mechanics of the body changing, you end up with a heavier belly out front. So it changes the way that your low back sits, that your head sits. So we often get a lot of discomfort during pregnancy. First pregnancies are okay, but then the second and third, it's like your body has memory. So it starts.
It's like
it can start off.
It's preparing for itself.
It's like, I remember this. Oh wait, we had pain at this stage. Let's give more pain. And
this is a great one too. So. Babies.
Yes.
babies getting
love
chiropractic
treating
care.
babies.
Like,
Yes.
please talk
Everybody
to me about
says,
this.
"Oh my gosh, you crack babies." I do not crack babies. We always joke that eggs get cracked, people get adjusted. But people know, they can see on TikTok, chiropractors crack things. I don't crack every patient. If patients choose to be manually adjusted, great. But also I do instrument gentle adjusting as well for patients who can't be adjusted or don't like being adjusted manually. But with infants, it's a touch and hold technique. So it's just enough pressure to blanch my fingertips. It might be a little bit of a pulse, but there's no noise associated with it. Often my infants sleep through it. And babies change so quickly with care. If I have somebody coming in with constipation or colic, it's usually I see them for, maybe twice a week for 2 weeks. And then if I'm not fixing the answer, then I'm going to be referring, because there's so many other things that we can co-manage with, or so many other practitioners as well, that we can co-manage babies with. But I treat, often we'll treat tongue tie releases, before and after, but it's very, very gentle. I think I answered.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I think, it's like babies, they're so small, and
So
all these
small.
things you don't have answers to, whatever it's called, can't keep milk down and stuff
yes,
like that.
acid reflux, yeah.
Things that, could be slight gentle adjustments to, the baby is crammed up there,
Yes.
and it's quite a dramatic thing of birth.
Because you'll see, say, babies who've been stuck in the birth canal or been brought out by forceps or vacuum. That's aggressive. So often babies, those are my torticollis babies. They'll come in and they can only turn one way. They're only latching on mom from one way. So we'll do a lot of release, and then they'll start looking both ways. They'll be a lot more comfortable. My constipation babies, often you'll be checking through the diaphragm and that sort of thing, and just loosening up constraints, and they start having regular bowel movements. I have an example of a baby. Well, he's a toddler, just over a year, and he came in recently, and for all of his life, he hasn't slept more than a couple hours, but only on his mom. He's never slept in his bassinet, never in his crib, and the mom's exhausted. She also has another toddler at home. So when he came in, I adjusted him for the first time, and he slept 12 hours that night on his back in his crib. And then I saw her a second time, and then he had 3 more nights of 12-hour nights. And it's just I know my job, I know chiropractors do great things, but when that happens, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
I did that.
You're like, I have superpowers.
I asked them, I was like, where's my bouquet of flowers? So it's stuff like that. It's just it's incredible to see. When you talk about pediatrics too, you don't always talk about babies. It's also kids. I had another kid that he came into me because he has some scoliosis. That's a big thing that we treat, curvature of the spine. We don't, take it away, but we help manage it. And then he also, every time he got a cold, it went straight to his lungs. He always was on puffers, that sort of thing. So we started treating him regularly. And that entire school year, that first year I saw him, he didn't once have a cold he had very little colds, but he didn't ever have one that went into his lungs. So it was wow. The mom's like, why haven't I come sooner? I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been here.
Yeah. Do you see a little bit older kids?
Yes.
Are they having kind of posture spinal issues from screens or being poor posture things? Is that
tech's a huge issue. And that's why I think we're getting a lot of headaches in kids and that sort of thing, because they're constantly, and it's the way the world is now. It's not like they're playing video games 24/7. It's at school, they're on tech. At home, they're on tech. Nothing's done with pen and paper much anymore. So you end up with this chronic postural strain where the kid's head's carriage is very forward, their shoulders are rolled in, and they have almost an increased curvature in the mid-back. So we see it a lot. And over time, that can manifest in headaches and tightness and soreness. So we treat that a ton as well.
If you could give like a couple things people could do for spinal health, like every day, like what would it be? Some simple things.
So when your child's on the switch, go lift up their arms, stack 3 pillows underneath them, and put their hands back. Just get them to bring the technology to their face. So whether if they're on their laptops at home, get them to stand at the kitchen island. Get them to make sure that they're doing it at the table. It's when they get all hunkered down on the couch and they're like curled into a question mark. That's the big one. And make them take breaks too. Like get them out, get them moving. Don't let them sit down for hours on end.
Yeah. And so you're mother of 3.
Yes.
Right? So how has it been like kind of balancing it all?
I'm incredibly fortunate because my husband's a stay-at-home dad. So I get to go off to work and, be carefree while he's at home in the trenches. But initially it was hard. Like my mat leaves were very short. My husband would bring the baby in every 3 hours to nurse and I would do 3-hour chunks of time, but we made it work. And he's so good at home. He cooks, he cleans, he does laundry. And so I have a very supportive home life and we live on a farm and my in-laws are on the farm as well. So we have permanent babysitters. So it's been good. It's sometimes hard to manage. Like when you're working and then you come home, it's a second job. Like you're always on. There's always some fire to be put out and the kids need to be driven here, there, or everywhere. So but I'm flexible with my hours too. So I'm able to get to things that, if I had a 9-to-5 job, I might not be able to, but.
Yeah. That sounds like the trenches though, like early when you're breastfeeding, right? Coming in like every 3 hours, right? While you're at work. Like
while I'm at work.
That's a lot.
Yeah. You choose to do it. Like I'm happy with patients when they have a fed baby, like breastfeeding is not for everybody, but when you choose to do it, you take some sacrifices. You have to make it work with the lifestyle you have, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, we got to talk about this. You're a knitting influencer.
Well, I wouldn't call myself an influencer.
Well, others do, so.
So I've been knitting for 22 years. And people might recognize me at I go to a lot of knitting conventions and retreats, which, it's not an old lady sport. It's for everybody, but I might have been noticed a few times or been interviewed on podcasts, or I guess, would you call them podcasts on YouTube? On YouTube videos, I've been interviewed, but I do a lot of testing for designers before they release their patterns. So, I sometimes get paid to knit and sent yarn to knit with. So it's,
so did it just start as passion, stress reliever, kind of unplug from everything and then just build organically? I
think so. My mother-in-law taught me how to knit when I was first dating my husband. And so I've been together with him for well over 20 years. And so she got me into it. And then since then, I think what really took it off were the influencer category is during COVID, I started doing a lot of testing because it's like little mini groups that you meet with online to work on a project together. And then you develop a community online. And then when you're at conventions, conferences, whatever, you see them and it's like, them because you've had experience with them online. So it's a nice way to connect, I think.
Yeah.
And it's so I don't murder my children.
Yeah, exactly.
I knit so I don't stab people. That's the
joke. Is knitting and quilting two different worlds, completely different worlds?
You just offended all the fiber artists around the world. No, I'm just kidding. Knitting and crocheting are with yarn and hooks or needles, where quilting is like sewing with fabric. So you create something beautiful in both ways, but I
only say that because there's this kind of entrepreneur that I followed out in the US and he got big in the quilting industry. Okay. He has literally created the Disney for quilting in a really small town in the US where all the quilters would go to this place, right? Yeah. That's the only reason I ask.
It's similar. Usually somebody who knits, they often sew and vice versa. So you get into these really expensive hobbies and you keep getting more hobbies.
Okay, let's go quick rapid fire wellness. Okay. Best stretch everyone should do daily.
Oh, I like a cat-cow. I think doing it with breaths, a good 5-second breath in and breath out really helps increase the mobility of your pelvis, your mid-back. And then while you're in that figure or all fours, you can do a thread the needle stretch where you bring your arm underneath and then back up. And I think it just helps open up everything. Yeah. I know it's rapid fire, but it's the power of the breath, right? It's crazy. Yes. 100%. And even just breathing, like belly breathing, like box breathing, whatever you call it, before and after you wake up, I think is a great stress reliever. And there's a lot of research going into how powerful your breath is.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like before I got into like breath and the importance of it too, it was because too much stress was coming onto my body and it was leading to a bunch of other things. So that's what led me into the breath world. And I was like, I'm holding my breath like so many times throughout the day, like working like intensely. It's just like, are you breathing? No.
And there's so much like, I think, the world of orthodontia, I don't know, this might be controversial, but, our palates are getting smaller. So our tongue seals are not good. And we end up with a ton of like apnea and, poor breathing problems. And that's why it's so prevalent to have all these devices now and stuff. So I know seeing my son go through getting braces, it's like the school of thought's different where they're now not pulling teeth, but kind of expanding palates because of how important that seal is, keeping your mouth closed while breathing, that sort of thing. Yeah. So there's a lot more research going into it, which is pretty cool.
One thing people do that destroy their posture.
Oh, their devices. Yeah. It's probably their devices. Not taking enough breaks. Like people get hunkered down on the computer or, on the couch and they just stay. So not moving enough. I joke with patients that I've heard this motion is lotion is a good thing. And it's so true. So I think, stagnant postures and tech.
Yeah. Standing desk or sitting desk?
Variability. So I like a standing desk, but standing for too long also causes pain and posture issues. Sitting for too long. So changing it up.
Yeah.
So having one that you can adjust so you can sit down, so you can stand up. And then even if you don't want to invest in a standing desk, take your laptop to the kitchen island, stand there for a little bit, then go back if you're working from home.
Yeah. Ice or heat for pain?
That's a controversial topic. No. So typically the research is always changing when it comes to ice, or the school of thought is always changing. Initially, a brand new injury, icing. And then after the fact, I like a good heat ice flush. So 10, 20 minutes of ice, 10, 20 minutes of heat, then back on of ice. You sandwich that heat, and then you're getting the best of both worlds. It creates a really good flushing action. So when in doubt, heat ice flush.
Yeah, love that. And most underrated health habit?
I think getting more movement. Yeah. Like just how beneficial it is for the brain, for your mental health, for your physical health. It sucks to move. We all hate doing exercise. Well, the majority of us. I've never understood the people who love it, but you do it because it makes you feel good, and you do it because it helps your body.
Yeah. So got to keep moving.
Yes.
Okay. As we close up here, what do you love most about being part of this community? We got a spot in Newmarket, a spot in EG, lots of people surrounding areas too.
Yeah. About the physical location or about like what I'm doing?
Both.
Okay. So I'd say with the physical location, it's like I didn't grow up in Newmarket. I grew up in Collingwood. So it's really cool to see how connected my patients are. Everybody knows everybody. So, in chiropractic care, you have to be very careful with patient confidentiality, but it's like they talk about people and they're like, oh, I know that too. So that because they're so interconnected, you do a good job, you get great referrals. It's patients are always hollering out on Facebook, social media about when they have a good experience. So it's being a close-knit community. I really enjoy being in this space as a chiropractor. I always tell my patient, I could be having a terrible day. My kids could be like off the wall crazy. We've had a busy morning. I come into clinic in a bad mood. As soon as I lay hands on a patient and start chatting with them, it's like my day's turned around. Yeah. I have such a good time while I'm treating. That's how I know I'm in the correct career. You have good days and you have bad days, but honestly, you see the success that patients have and you're like, oh, obviously I chose the right thing. And I don't know if I don't do enough job with educating my patients, but we chat so much and I learn so much about their life. And you feel like a part of it because my health assistant currently, I treated when she was 11. And now she's 25 as my health assistant. Or one of our current volunteers, he started at 7 and now he's volunteering at the clinic. You watch these kids grow up. You see them tower over you after a couple of years. And it's really cool to see. So
I love that. Yeah. And what makes Aligned Health Center so special?
I think our reputation, we do a really good job. Patients are always getting really thorough, good care. We care a lot about patients and we're very hands-on. We never are dismissive of patients. And, we do our best to try and make sure that they're well taken care of. And yeah, I think Align, I know you go anywhere, people know who Align is. You're constantly getting shout outs on social media. So I think that's what makes us special is that we've done such a good job in the community and we're involved in the community that patients recognize the name, the brand. Don't you like talking about the brand?
Yeah. And that's why we're proud to recommend Aligns.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.